Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom. I am your host, Mmmm, and of course we have today with us, as always, Russ Whitfield. How are you today, Russ?
I'm good, thank you, RM. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You know, it's summertime, as I've told you before, here in New York, so I am really happy it's summer. I live for the summer, so it's an important time for me. It is kind of unbearable at times, but I've got the ocean breeze here, and the beach is
Mhm.
just there, even though we can't really go in the water all the time. But it's still beautiful with our boardwalk and everything. Just really enjoying it all, Russ.
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's pretty warm here in the United Kingdom, but we had a massive heat wave for a couple of days. It was up to 40 degrees. Was pretty unbearable, but nobody did anything. The whole place just sort of shut down, and everybody just stayed in, stayed out of the heat. But now it's just regular sunshine.
Well, it sounds nice. Is the weather still mild?
Yeah, pretty much. It's warm, but it's not like it was. That 40 degrees was just too much.
Yeah, I heard about that heat wave and it sounded absolutely unbearable.
It was.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that, excuse me, I'm glad that it's over and that, normal weather is there now. So that makes me feel a lot better. I know that that aircon is not really
It's
something
not a
you
thing.
guys,
It's not
yeah.
really a thing. No.
Okay, because it's a thing here. It's a big thing here in the
Mm.
US. Like aircon is a big thing. And
Yeah.
one of the first things that happens to you when you get your first apartment, a lot of times there's no aircon in the apartment. You have to go buy an air conditioner. It's like a big thing. It's like you
Hmm.
go to this and purchase this, it's like $100 and you get an air conditioner. People are like, you don't have an air conditioner? It's like, you got to get an air conditioner.
Yeah.
So so you get that for your first apartment. It's like a
Rite of
rite of
passage.
passage, yes,
Yeah.
a rite of passage. Growing up, so we have people with us. Although I don't know how he's here with us. He was pretty much up all night, modding Robert's stream, which was pretty much up all night. Tom Junior
Right. Yeah.
Jackson.
The man, the legend. I had a lie in this morning because I might have had a glass of wine last night or three, and I think it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So that would have been, well, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, and I turned the telly on, and there was Rob talking to two people. I didn't actually watch it. I was going to watch something else, but yeah. So well done, Tom. Bloody hell, some
Yeah, I
coffee.
don't
I've
know
got
how
black.
he's
I've got black
awake.
coffee here.
I don't know how he's awake. I'm gonna put my other earring in. I don't feel right if I don't have my jewelry on. You know that, guys. I
Well,
don't know how Tom is awake right now, but God bless you, Tom. As always, we are all goof people, Tom. Wouldn't be the same without you. So I am glad you're here. But if you are tired, please just take a nap. We will be here when you awaken. Um, there's also Mario
oh, hey
Lopez.
Mario,
How
good to
are you,
see you, mate.
Mario? Mario says, "Good afternoon from where I am." Yes.
Portugal must be hot, hey?
Yeah. Like I said, I hope you can maybe go to the ocean and maybe take a dive in there, but I'm not sure. Just hope you're staying cool. Darth Plato is with us.
Ah, Salway Darth Plato.
Hello, Darth Plato. I have so much congestion this morning. And he says, "Hail, chat. It's good to see you, Darth Plato. We have Retro Nerd Girl with us this
Ah, there
morning."
she is. Hello.
Hi, Retro Nerd Girl. It's always a pleasure to see you on a Sunday. We hope you are doing well. I like the coffee, and it looks like a cookie there or a donut. I could certainly use that. I didn't make myself coffee this morning, and I'm feeling it. I actually drink tea, but it is something very funny. I wonder what Darth Plato is saying. Art, if you have something important to tell everyone, do it now while you have the chance. Darth Plato! Oh my gosh, that sounds like very like I have something important to say. Well, well, thank you for the advice. And I will keep that in mind, Darth Plato. Renz Tolentino is here with
There he
us.
is.
Says good morning. Guys, check out Renz Tolentino's artwork. That man is incredible. You are incredible, Renz Tolentino. We love your artwork. You can kind of see from his avatar there some of his
Mhm.
pieces. They really are amazing. So check it out, guys. Um, Tom Jr. Jackson does say, "I took a nap and I feel good." Well, we're glad you feel good too, Tom Jr. Jackson. We're so glad to have you here with us. Joker Voice is here with us, and he says, "Good morning, chat."
Hello,
Um,
mate.
Good morning at Positive Fandom and Russ. Well, good morning to you, Joker Voice. Mario Lopez is not so hot this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's all relative. I bet it's boiling, but probably not to him.
and Darth Vader says Russ at 2.
Yeah, slinging around the Latin this morning.
Absolutely. And we also have Brian McCann. Morning,
Oh, hey.
Arden. Well, good morning to you, Brian McCann. It's so nice to see you here this morning. Um, uh, and, it's so wonderful to see everybody here. This has been an interesting week, of course, with the heat wave, as you mentioned, Russ, where I did see news reports about the heat wave. And of course, where I live, although, as I mentioned, that you can go to the beach, we did actually have shark sightings and a shark attack on my beach.
I didn't know you had an
So
attack. I know you mentioned that there were sharks. I didn't know that there'd been an attack. I hope the person is okay. Well, as okay as you can be, having been attacked by a shark.
well, so far we haven't lost anyone, and
Good.
I'm sure you are aware, and a lot of people who are watching this are aware that some of the inspiration for Jaws, I think, was due to this area of Long Island that it was written. It's set in Amity. The story is set in New England, but I think it was inspired by something that happened on Long Island. So, we have sharks here. They've always been here. We live with them. We know they're there. But we go in the water anyway. So that's just the truth of the matter.
I just wanted to say Keely's popped up.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Keely Chow. Keely
What's
Chow
going on? We were
says,
just killing time till you got here, Keely. We can start now.
absolutely. Hi, Keely Chow. What's going on with you? Good to see you this morning. And of course, roll tide to you, Joker Voice. We all say to you there. Jin Korea is here as well. Hello, Jin Korea.
Hello, mate.
Good morning to you, Jin Korea. We so do appreciate seeing you here. And, Joker Voice kind of makes a joke about here. He says, exciting news, Rippaverse. Who cares news? Marvel Phase 5 and 6 announced.
But that's a good place to start, isn't it? San Diego Comic Con, and kick off with the Rippaverse. So I imagine that the Geeks and Gamers guys and the Friday Night Tights people and all that must have known about this for a while. I certainly didn't. I woke up one morning last week to see a bunch of things on my YouTube feed pertaining to the Rippaverse. Anyone that doesn't know, Rippaverse is a new comic continuity set up by a guy called Eric July, who has streamed, I think, with Critical Drinker and Jeremy Geeks and Gamers and all those people as Young Ripper. In fact, he was on the Geeks and Gamers stream where they interviewed Zack Snyder. I believe Ripper was on that, but that's all by the by. Just now, before this stream started, I was looking at some stuff on YouTube, and I saw that he and Gabriel, his artist, were on Fox News. So this is national news now, I guess, in the United States, that Young Ripper, Eric July, started his own comic universe and raised nearly $3 million in sponsorship, pre-orders, and so on and so on from fans. The comic's called Isom, and it is essentially, according to Eric July himself, I'm not going to quote directly, I'm paraphrasing, but he said that it's not an anti-woke comic, it's just not woke. So this Isom / Rippaverse was written and conceived as a response to the direction of woke comic wood, I guess we can call it. The artist Gabe, and I can't remember the chap's second name. It's an Arab sounding surname, so please forgive me, I can't remember. But this chap used to work on Superman. and he was saying that he had achieved his childhood dream. He'd become a working in comics, and finally reached the heady heights of drawing Superman, right at the point where they decided to take away Superman's American citizenship and change his brand from Truth, Justice, and the American Way to Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow. And he walked. I can't imagine the balls that must have taken and the heartbreak it must have been to I don't know. That's like me getting an email from Pamela Anderson. She's saying, "Russ, I want to, star in your next film," and me having to say no. I can't imagine how bad that must have been for that guy. Yeah. So he also has a comic called Truth, Justice, American Way, which he's asking people to support, as well as the Rippaverse. So I think um, well, it's not that I think, we can see now that there is a market for a non-woke comic. And again, to make the distinction, Eric July is not attacking people that have different beliefs to him. He is just putting out a comic which is about heroes doing stuff with no particular political agenda. And as you can see, $3 million has made him a rich man, which is awesome, because I like to see creators making lots of money. But as consumers of this sort of thing, it's absolutely fantastic to have someone out there who's talked the talk, walked the walk, and produced, by all accounts, what is an excellent comic. I must actually order it after this stream. I've been meaning to do that. And yeah, it's literally, we've heard everybody say it so many times. Don't sit there and complain about these things. Go off and do it yourself. I mean, I think Critical Drinker is an advocate of this. I think Rob Meyer Burnett is an advocate of this, and certainly Young Ripper has done it himself. Invested a lot of his own money, had all the work done, and then launched it, and was going to see how it went. And it's gone beyond his wildest dreams. So I think it's brilliant. I think to see independent comics suddenly flare up like this, and this won't be the only one now, right? Everyone's going to be trying to get on that bandwagon, and we might have what we saw in the '90s, where we had Image Comics come out when all the people were disillusioned at Marvel and DC, and they went and they formed their own Lady Death and Purgatory. I used to love Lady Death back in the day. I had all the comics, and of course, I gave them all away. But yeah, so what do you think, Aram?
Well, excuse me. Well, first, I just want to say definitely check out Retro Nerd Girl's YouTube channel there, guys.
Oh yeah,
Check out
please
Retro
do.
Nerd Girl. She has such a wonderful channel. She's been on YouTube for 6 years. This lady's probably going to make a movie one of these days. So definitely keep in touch with what she's up to. Certainly worth a watch. If you love to talk about all those great films that we grew up with, you want to check out Retro Nerd Girl. And also, good morning to Bloodsport One.
The man with the best handle on the internet.
Hi, Bloodsport One. It's always wonderful to see you here. Just want to make sure I got everybody. So, what I was going to say is, I think I got everyone. Just one. Oh, OG fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, is also here today. Hello, OG fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Good morning to and Russ. Well, good morning to you. Absolutely.
Hello, OG fan.
And Sean Holmes is here. I don't believe we've ever seen you before, Sean Holmes.
Hey, Sean.
Malibu
Welcome.
Comics. Russ, Sean, hello, Sean, mentions Malibu Comics. That's probably another independent comic book creator. I'm guessing, I don't know, Sean, but thank you for telling us the information, because we appreciate all that stuff.
I don't know what that is. Sean, if you want to drop in some more info about that in the chat, we'll certainly pick up on it later.
And what I was going to say is, yeah, this Rippaverse update, Joker Voice, thank you, Joker Voice, for doing that update for us. 36,000 individual purchasers, $3.1 million in pre-order sales. The artist that you're talking about, it says that, now I'm reading this from an article by Bounding Into Comics, which is old. And the article was about how pretty much Eric July's accomplishments were getting shadow banned initially. But now he's made so much money that it cannot be ignored. Even though there's a lot of professional jealousy out there, we knew that was going to happen. He just wants to make a good comic. So that's what he wants to do. He wants to entertain. He's been working hard for the past, I don't know how many years on this. This is a 96-page comic book. It's like an omnibus edition, Russ. It's not sort of like just 1 or 2 pages we're talking about. He offered signed copies for, I felt was an okay price, personally.
How
For a
much is
book.
it? How much is the actual book and then the signed
I
copy?
think
Sorry
it's
for
$30
butting in.
for the book, and the signed copy was 50. I don't know whether those are still available, but and it's not actually crowdfunding from what he's saying. I thought it was crowdfunding. It's just his own business, and he's offering on his page, so you can purchase it. It's not crowdfunding. People are going to get a book. The book is
Yeah.
finished. They're going to be shipped out very, very soon. So we're not going to be waiting a year. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And the artist that you were referring to, Russ, it says the book is written by July with artwork by Cliff Richards and former Superman son of Kal-El colorist Gabe El-Taib.
Yeah, El-Taib, that's him. Yeah.
And as you did say, El-Taib, who's a well-known professional artist, was disappointed in what he thought was going to be something that would be exciting to work on, with I guess it was DC, and he was, found that due to creative differences, that was not for him. He's now doing this artwork for Eric July's comic, which is called ISOM #1. And the artwork is beautiful. It's incredible looking. It looks exactly like what you would expect. I'm sorry for the reflection because I've got a window open. But
it's a
just
professional
really,
thing.
it's 100% professional. And Eric July is an incredible person, as you mentioned. He does have a YouTube presence. He is politically active on YouTube, so he does have, political opinions and expresses that as well. And I think that, just like what you were saying, Russ, there is an actual group of people who still want to buy comics. It's still there. We exist. I love indie comics. It's not that I don't like Marvel and DC, but I love indie comics. And most of the comics that I've collected are almost all indie comics, meaning that they're not Marvel or DC or an offshoot of Marvel and DC that doesn't say, may not be their main brand. So I think it's interesting that he has done this, that Eric has done this. And everybody is just pleased as punch for him, even despite, critics not being happy that he's made all this money or, will continue to do so. You can't help but happy for someone who's gone after their dreams and is inspiring other people and just wants to make a good comic. That's all we ever asked for.
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that this guy was kicked off of Reddit Reddit group, because he was part of a hate group apparently, and all of this stuff, this shadow banning that's gone on. It's almost like we're living in, it's almost like it's Wayland Yutani are after this guy. It's really bad, and like he's just a no longer a struggling artist, but a guy just wants to get his stuff out there, and more power to him. There is a market for it. We are, I predict, going to see more and more of this. That what's his name? Ethan Van Sciver is
Mm-hmm.
also making a lot of money selling his own
Cyberfrog.
comics. Cyberfrog, yeah. Outside of the mainstream, it's a shame actually that the characters that we love, we're going to have to look elsewhere for comic entertainment. Funny enough, I know this guy gets a bad rap over his film career, but I was just now reading the Superman Watchmen crossover, the Doomsday Clock by Jeff Johns. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome, and it sort of reminded me, just how good comics can be. Really, really enjoyed that. But then now I was just watching on YouTube a little skit by Van Sciver. He was reviewing or reading through the latest Teen Titans, and yeah, not great. So seemingly for us guys, film is where we're going to see our heroes for a while. I mean, these Superman comics and Teen Titans comics are still available, of course, but they're not no longer as popular as they once were because of their messaging.
Yeah, and it's a shame that that's happened to so many books and so many IPs, how this messaging is really just, people don't like it. And it's obvious people don't like it. Whoever is making it wants to push it, but I don't even think they're buying these comics because we can see the sales are down for those comics with those messages. Nobody wants to hear it. You know, it might be a belief, but it's not a popular comic selling motif, as I say. You know, you can go ahead and say that and put it in there, but it's not going to make the books fly off the shelves.
No, it's not. Here, Joker Voice says, funny you talk about 92. Rippaverse is subject of my latest video. I will check it out, mate. 100%. As I say, well, I haven't ordered it because the bank stopped my debit card for reasons. They just said, oh, we're giving you a new debit card. I was in the States at the time. It was a right pain. And now currently I've got no means of purchasing anything unless it's on a credit card, which I don't like to do. So I will buy it. But yeah, please do go and check out Joker Voice's video on the Rippaverse.
Yes, guys. And I'm also on Odysee now. So I'm on YouTube and Twitch, which I stream at the same time. And this will also be shown over at Odysee as well. So if you guys prefer different platforms, I am there. Joker Voice is letting us know that a lot of the signed copies that Eric has offered have actually sold out. And Darth Plato mentions woke is not a united front. Those people are at each other's throats. There is a lot of, you know, kind of a backstabbing in that crew. I certainly don't want to be with them. And it is kind of sad that that's even happening. And Joker Voice also says that the books are set to go out in late August, which is like literally right around the corner, Russ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As soon as I get my new card, I'll order it 100%.
And Mario says, I hope big corporations understand that woke comics is not the way to go for the industry.
Well, a lot of this comes from, as we may have discussed on here before, a lot of this stuff comes from a sort of arbitrary set of scores set up by the World Economic Forum, which is filtered down to BlackRock, which owns most of America at the moment. And this is what's called an ESG rating, which stands for environment, society, and governance, basically. And the more woke you are, the more ESG points you get, essentially. So you'll find that I think it's Microsoft is number one. Amazon is number two on this list. The idea being the higher ESG score is, the more what would you call conscientious investors will invest in your company, which is why they can continue to produce this content. Perhaps it's not even that they want to produce this content, it's just this is getting them investment money. This is what you're finding with Time Warner, Marvel, and all of these people. So until the loss starts to outweigh the investment, which I think will happen sooner than later now, this trend will continue for a while. But we're starting to see Eric July on the one hand, Maverick on the other, that things that don't have overt messaging in them are what audiences want. Like, you know, it's funny to think of Top Gun, which is a massive movie, as like the little film that could, in certain ways. I mean, it's sure, it's a franchise, but it's a franchise that's, you know, nearly 40 years old at this point, and for it to come out years late and make so much money is awesome. But yeah, so to Mario's point, ESG money is why this stuff happens. And there's Jedi
And
Bill.
absolutely, thank you, Russ, for mentioning that. I did not know all the details of that. Hello to Jedi Bill 797, says good morning, positive fandom. I can't speak. Absolutely, good morning to you guys. I put Rippaverse.com in there for ISOM #1. If you guys want to order it, I ordered, as I said, I think it was book A, which is a signed copy by Eric July, because I definitely want that first edition signed copy. I'm so sorry, by Eric July for this. You know, there are a lot of other elements about the book that is interesting, but I'm not even going to mention it, because the fact that he made this book has been so fascinating and honestly just satisfying to hear about. Him making this book, and you know, he's been working for a long time on the book, so it wasn't something that he just dreamed up yesterday and decided, I'm going to start a campaign. Hello to you, low spec Linux laptop. Hello to you, and right back at you with my Nintendo 64 and Commodore 64 computer,
Oh,
low
yeah.
spec Linux laptop. We're so glad you're here. Did you have a Commodore 64,
I
Russ?
certainly did have a Commodore 64, and what was the game I used to play all the time? Lords of Midnight and Elite. The two games that I played a lot.
Absolutely. So we love you, Lord Spec Linux laptop. We certainly love that low spec stuff. Um, And Joker Voice says, also Ripper Voice update, if you cannot use PayPal, they are holding about 1.2 million of the customer's money. Oh, so don't use PayPal. So this was something that did happen. And it turns out that PayPal will hold payments for different reasons.
Mhm.
And $1.2 million is a lot of money to have transactions at for anyone. And so
Yeah.
they're going to hold that money. And I'm not surprised that they are doing that. I've heard of other comic book creators and YouTube creators having thousands of dollars held by by PayPal, and they've made YouTube videos complaining about PayPal holding their transactions. So I'm sure he'll contact a lawyer and that will be straightened out, but I'm not surprised that PayPal is doing that. Retro Nerd Girl says, I've been considering heading over to Odysee. I'm still on the fence. Go for it, Retro Nerd Girl. Go for it. I think that these other platforms are going to be backups for us through the years. We don't know what's going to happen with YouTube and the direction it's going in. I encourage you. You have so many great videos, and there's so many people who would love your videos on Odysee, Retro
Mm.
Nerd Girl. So please just go ahead and synchronize it. It will automatically upload your videos to Odysee. And yes, it is true. It's not governed the same way YouTube is, but it certainly will get your stuff out there, especially if you are going to continue on making a film, as you mentioned, that you may be doing. The more people who know about you, Retro Nerd Girl, the better. Thank you for making the videos you make, Retro Nerd Girl. Please
I've
do
been
go to Odysee.
I've been traveling a little bit, so I haven't been catching up on much YouTube. Like today was the first time I was really looking at it. What's this about Retro Nerd Girl doing a film? Can we talk about that a little bit? How much do you know, or have you just seen that she's going to be working on something?
Well, it turns out that Retro Nerd Girl has celebrated 6 years on YouTube, which
Hmm.
we've been talking about, and that is a huge accomplishment. Retro Nerd Girl has an incredible amount of videos on her channel. And guys,
Mm.
if you like retro films, like we all do, we love this stuff. Go to Retro Nerd Girl's channel, and you will see pretty much professional reviews of the movies you love. And I really like it mainly because I've seen other reviews and there were spoilers in it, but she doesn't really take a spoiler approach per se. She's looking at it from a theoretical context, and it's kind of refreshing. Kind of you remember these films from before, but then you might say, yeah, they never told us anything about that, so we really don't understand what they meant here. But it's kind of interesting, the concept, and you're going to be blown away by her analysis. But the other part is that Retro Nerd Girl mentions, and Retro Nerd Girl, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that you did mention this, that you got into looking and studying film because you yourself were going to create a film. And so, as a creator on YouTube and as someone who may potentially go ahead and make that film, I encourage you to go ahead and do that. Retro Nerd Girl, we are 100% behind you. If you make this film, I promise you, we will go ahead and promote it here on Positive Fandom and encourage everybody to go and see your film. So that's what that's about, Russ. I think that Retro Nerd Girl would make an amazing film. But
Mm.
also, please, if you decide to transfer your videos over to Odysee, it's super easy. I've done it myself. And I encourage you to do that. Spread your message out. I assure you, people will appreciate it, Retro Nerd Girl. And I hope you're having a great day. And we so appreciate you being here as well to answer your question, Russ. So hopefully she will make that film. I look forward
Fingers
to it.
crossed.
Yes. And I did put the Rippaverse for ISOM #1 in there.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We support this so much. And a lot of you, Russ, a lot of people are talking about this new phase. Of course, San Diego Comic-Con was this week. I didn't make it there. Hello, Cavantino Cavalryman Che. So good to see you today. He says IDW is coming out with a Star Trek #1 this October and will feature Captain Sisko. And I am all over that. Cavantino, Cavalryman Che. I am picking up that for sure. I love us, Captain Sisko. Avery Brooks is my favorite captain. DS9 is my favorite series in Star Trek. I cannot wait to see this issue. I'm going to order a few, and I'm just going to love it. I don't even care what the story is, honestly. I just think Sisko was the coolest captain out there since Kirk. So, I'm looking forward to that. And thank you for letting us know about that. And then we also have Sean Holmes, who's talking about, hi, Sean Holmes.
Hey, Sean.
He says, can you explain the concept of woke comics as discussed in this chat by Darth Plato? And, there is a lot of talk about this woke information. We haven't really discussed woke on this channel. I don't know whether we're going to get into as deep as woke as we can. But what I can say, for me, let's say if I were just going to say it in a one sentence description, Russ, woke is when someone puts out a message of something and the story is shit. And so they just keep saying, you have to make sure that you recycle. And then that's, and then the story is garbage. And they're like, I'm so glad I recycled. If I wouldn't have recycled if it wasn't for you, or I wouldn't be the person I am if I hadn't recycled and you hadn't told me to do this. So for me, that's woke. And it doesn't matter whether it's about what topic or subject it is. For me, woke is when you waste your time on a message, but their story is garbage. Now, if the story is great and you have a woke message, I don't care. The story was good. You went ahead and had this message. That's nice. But the story was amazing. I don't care if you had a message in there or not. But if you don't have a real story, a legitimate story, and you waste my time trying to send a message, no one wants to hear it. People need good stories. If you want to have a hidden message in there, that's fine. But we came here for the stories. And if it's not there, then
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think to answer the question from my perspective, Sean, really, it's the I was going to say injection, but it's more like the dumping of social justice messaging into comics over and above the story. So you'll see things in comics where you have a female of color taking over the mantle of Iron Man, for example. You'll have DC Comics killing off the entire Justice League to replace Justice League with a more diverse, sexually and racially diverse Justice League. Your characters, always red-haired characters, are always getting race swapped, aren't they? So it's this sort of social justice message that is fine in small doses, but it seems to have taken over the mainstream of comics. Case in point, Warner or DC, if you like, no longer feeling comfortable with the fact that Superman stands for the American way. So they took that away from his character, and now he's a citizen of Earth and so on. And his son is bisexual, and they made a huge deal about his first same-sex kiss, and then promoted that picture everywhere, and then sort of said it's not about that. To which I was saying, well, if it wasn't about that, why was this the only picture you were promoting? So hopefully that that answers your question. It's basically diversity quotas and intersectional politics and gender and race swapping without a story to back it up. That is the point of it. The story isn't the point. The message is the point. This goes into Star Trek as well. I think it was what's his name? Not Akiva Goldsman, the other guy, the main Star Trek guy. His name's got out of my mind. Anyway, he basically said that Star Trek was a platform for their politics. The new Star Trek, for their politics and messaging. And if you're a Star Trek fan, that isn't what you want to hear. Certainly, they've done it with Star Wars as well. Force is female, all of that stuff. So yeah, and this comics like ISOM and this movement, I would say I would say it's a backlash. I would say just people have had enough of it. They've had enough of it, enough of this stuff, and they just want stuff without messaging.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Russ. There's a lot. It's not sort of, I know I tried to make it a simple sentence, and I know it's not a simple sentence. What's interesting about a lot of the things you mentioned is that we've always had diversity in comics. It's always been there. There have
Yes.
always been other characters. So there was never a need for diversity. But the justification to push away certain characters because they didn't like those characters and they wanted to correct the character's message is
Yeah,
why those actions were done. Not because it was going to be a cool story. It wouldn't have been great if it was a cool story and they had done this and they said, we're just going to do an experiment. You know, it's an alternate universe. It's an experiment. We're not going to mess with the original. This is a different character experiment, but it's inspired by the original. Something cool. And you'd say, wow, this is kind of cool. But we didn't even get anything cool like that. Everything was just so not a good story, and you could tell because the comic books didn't sell.
There's so much hubris. Yeah, the comics book didn't sell. There was the one writer, a lady, who came out and said in one video, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my books. To which everybody went, okay, we don't like your politics, we're not going to buy your books. And then the same lady was on a stream a couple of months later decrying the fact that no one was buying her books. So there's there's a certain amount of hubris there, really. Pride cometh before a fall, and all of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of answered the question. Big Dog Pound One asked, never heard of this. We put the link up there. Essentially, a comic by Eric July, which is Young Ripper. Over there, he has created a comic book that he is basically pitching as not anti-woke. It's just not woke. It doesn't have any particular messaging. It's a story about heroes fighting villains, and all the stuff that they go in there, but there's no particular message, political message there in.
Now,
Kurtzman, that was it. Alex Kurtzman.
Yes.
Thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to say to add to what you were saying, Russ, is that one of the biggest themes or tropes in wokeness is the vilification of men.
Yes.
And I don't know whether those
certain type of men.
Yes. But ultimately, to kind of cut men down, masculinity down, let's say. I don't know if you guys watching this know this, but I love men. And I love men so much that Lorena, who is another YouTube creator that I work with frequently, and I do a show called Toxic Male Appreciation, where we actually are involved in the show for a number of reasons. But one of the main reasons is because we were tired of seeing the vilification of men. And this is a trope that we see in a lot of these woke stories, is this vilification of men, kind of abusive behavior towards men. I can't tell you how many comic books I've seen where men are getting slapped in the face all the time. And I'm so tired of seeing this in a comic book. Like nobody wants to see that in a comic book. Nobody wants this, but it's being pushed to show this. And I'm like, this isn't right. Just stop doing that, please. We saw it in Loki in the series where he got continually slapped. And I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to see that. If we're going to be doing something fun and playful, let it be in the bedroom, but it doesn't have to be like just randomly, kind of doing that. And the other thing that I was going to say about it that I find really disturbing is, in addition to the vilification of men and the role and the sacrifices that they make that they don't like, and they want it to be corrected because they feel that, that is the reason why things are bad for them or whatever the justification is, patriotism is something that is not stressed. And so this success of Maverick is exactly the reason why patriotism is so important, regardless of country. You're in the UK, I'm in the US. So, let's say, depending upon which country, you live in, it doesn't matter. Patriotism matters in the country that you're in. So I think it's great that we got the success with Maverick because it shows that people still support the military. We saw an ad, people criticizing the Terminal List, saying that this was some sort of, abusive kind of show. I don't know the exact words, guys, but it was criticized.
I bet it was the mainstream media that was criticizing it, the access media, because I reckon, now I'm going to guess, I reckon that the fan ratings for that, or the audience rating for that, are through the roof, because the Terminal List was fucking brilliant. I mean, it was just so good. Like, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was the best thing I'd seen on TV in a long time.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's a successful show, Russ. We know it's based on a book, just like Reacher. It's also based on well selling, well established novels that have been popular internationally. And for anyone to even criticize the sacrifice that our military members are making, I find really disappointing that anybody would do that to anybody who has separated their lives and stayed away from their families to do service, and the sacrifices that these men and women are making on our behalf. It's just something that really bothers me. It makes a good story, like the terminal list with Chris Pratt. I think might be his best story yet. There's a scene, Russ, that I talked about in episode 1 where he has to or is going to interrogate someone, and I kind of made a joke like, it's a nightmare being interrogated, but being interrogated by somebody in special ops must be like the most terrifying experience you'll ever have in your life, because the level of concentration on his face as he was playing this character was so impressive. But this is a person who's out there fighting for all of us and making sacrifices, not being around to see his family, putting himself in harm's way. These are all things that from some odd approach they want to criticize, and there was no reason for the criticism. So I think that might also be something, this idea of wanting to fix things. We have to correct things. That I'm thinking to myself, no, you can do your art, and your art can be an expression of what you want to do, but it doesn't have to necessarily go back. And that's why they want to change the character, because they want to correct. Their fantasy is that we have to correct things. That's why they pick on popular characters. We have to correct what's wrong with this character. Well, no, you do not have to do that. Why not make another character and go ahead and express yourself artistically?
Because it won't sell. I mean, this is the whole thing with Kenobi, wasn't it? You make a show called Kenobi that isn't about Kenobi, really. It's about them wanting to introduce a new character, and they know they can't release the new character because no one cares. So they'll wrap it up. They'll try to attach it to an ongoing franchise.
Yeah,
I see. Sorry,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
I just said Paulie's popped up in the chat from the
Oh,
teenage.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Hello,
I just saw it.
Paulie. I'm so behind in these chats, and I apologize. We do have I am Mika says, thank you so much. Well said, RR. Thank you, I am, and it's good to see you. I am Mika. Thank you for stopping by. Gary Bando Sandwich is also with us.
Oh, hello, Gary.
Hey, how are you doing today? So good to see you guys. It's always such a pleasure for you guys to stop by here. We appreciate it. And of course, Paulie. So the new take on Namor woke. Would love the panel's opinion. Namor woke. Do you know?
They've in the comics, Namor's traditionally a sort of white dude with pointy ears and a bit like Spock, actually, pointy, or an elf. He's pointy ears and arched eyebrows and all the rest of it. Green swimming trunks, and I think I don't know. He's certainly not a white guy in Wakanda forever. I think he might be a Polynesian guy like Jason Momoa. Is it woke? Dunno, Paulie. We'd have to see it.
I don't know either. I'm sorry. But Paulie, it's so great to see you this morning. I hope you are well, Paulie. It's such a pleasure, guys. Check out Paulie on Latino Slant. He makes such fantastic videos. You want to learn more about the culture of Latin people? Absolutely check out Latino Slant. I have learned so much about what he's shown, especially for Latin Americans here. There's so much history that we were never taught in school here in the U.S. Not only is it historical, it's also fantastic. There are so many stories that Paulie covers that absolutely, if you are into entertainment, you want to check out Latino Slant for the biggest scoops of what's going on. So please do check out.
He's got the smoothest voice on the internet as well as Paulie. Kind of like
He really does.
He should be doing bedtime stories, sleep stories.
He does the intro for Lorena and my show, Toxic Male Appreciation. He does the intro. It's his voice, guys. Paulie from Latino Slant, talking about toxic male appreciation and toxic male. So definitely check out Parley. Parley, it's so good to see you this morning. I hope you are well. Parley, it's so nice to see you. I got a chance to meet Parley about a month or two ago in LA. He took my mother and he drove us to Awards which is Chris Gore's Independent Film Award ceremony. And thank you for doing that, Parley. It made such a difference for both of us. Such a pleasure to meet you guys as well. Thank you, Parley. Yes. So I promise you what we're going to do, Paulie, is we're going to find out more about that topic for sure and Namor as the time goes on. We're going to run out of time, aren't we, Russ? And of course, this is Paulie's channel, Latino Slant. Guys, definitely check out Paulie's channel. And we also have Rogue Thinker with us today.
Hello, Rogue.
Rogue Thinker. And he says, the Commodore, my Commodore 64 and my VIC-20 and my 128 and my Amiga. Yes, I remember those days. You were lucky to have gotten that. Tape Drive Games is here. Hi, Tape Drive Games. Good to see you this morning. You guys are fantastic. I'm so behind in these chats, but I'm going to go a little bit farther back. And try and if it loads up here, try and cover some of these chats. Russ, I'm sorry, I've kind of fallen behind.
That's okay. I can also scroll up if you'd like me to.
I think I'm gonna start here, Russ, because
All right.
I just Retro Nerd Girl mentions that I hope we will see more independent comic books and projects. Gatekeeping creativity is stifling humanity, in my opinion. Isn't it, though? We're seeing less creativity, Retro Nerd Girl. And, you know, it really, we're getting these dry spells. And Russ, you're right. That's why people are jumped all over this book because of, you know, pretty much what we are seeing.
Yeah.
Tom Jr. Jackson says, Wakanda Forever trailer was beautiful. And Joker Voice says, Wakanda Forever introduction of Namor, in a word, insulting. So Joker Voice finds it insulting. So we are seeing everybody's views here. Wow. Certainly different thoughts here in regards to Namor. And we definitely are going to find out a little bit more about that going forward, guys. And so what else did I want to show here? Yes. So guys, check out Eric July on his channel. He is also the one who has written ISOM #1. So his YouTube channel is called Ripa. Is it Ripa 89?
I think so.
Ripa 89.
But it'll be on there. It'll be all of his stuff, all of his links and everything's on ripaverse.com. So go check him out.
Also, and thank you very much, OG Fan, when Star Wars is just Star Wars, says to open another tab and watch Let Run Positive Fandom's playlists to get art monetized. Yes, I need 4,000 watch hours, guys. So I appreciate it. Thank you, OG Fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars. I do need more watch hours. So please go ahead, click on a playlist, let it run. Tom Jr. Jackson has been doing that. And Tom told me he's been letting this playlist run for almost 2 days. God bless you, Tom, for doing that. Especially since he was there for all of them. So
yeah, poor guy. To listen to us going on. Sorry, Tom.
Pretty much. God bless you, Tom. And God bless you, OG Fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, and everybody there. I so appreciate it. And he says, I have been doing it since Friday night, and I'm on episode 21. Yes, Tom, God bless you for that. Now, Brian McCann says, go to PlayPal and hit confirm purchase. Second Street Marvel has a video on this. If you confirm purchase, Eric July will get his money released. That's kind of a big point that a lot of people don't know, Brian.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That is something that is a big issue. There's thousands of people who don't know this. And Positive Fandom, Bob, Big Dog Pound one says, which cover would you get that is still available on the site? Well, A and B were the two covers that I was interested in. I already got A and it's sold out, but I think C is the one that's still available. And someone did mention it in the chat here. So go ahead and look and see what is available. And we got an answer from Retro Nerd Girl Russ.
Here we go. Yes, RM, you are right. I am working on eventually making movies. My movies will be more like Robot Chicken, done with 6 figures. That would be sick. Thank you for talking about them and your support. Well, you're very welcome. And I know you're a very creative person, so I reckon it's going to be absolutely awesome. I can imagine some sort of stop motion thing. It's going to be great. Yeah, color me interested, color me hooked. I'll be there for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I do like this definition that Brian McCann has put forward. And he says non-subtle message agenda that are badly written in execution, also changing sexuality and races, gender of established characters just to force a message or tokenism. And yeah, I think that sums up exactly what you and I have been saying, Russ. Thank you, Brian, for the very concise version of what took maybe 30 minutes to say, but
yeah.
So, and OG Star Wars, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, makes a good point about 7% of the population is part of a specific group, and they're pushing it on 100% of the content. And I can tell you, honestly, I watched an incredible independent film last year about comics for specific groups, maybe part of that 7% of the population, and they had their own underground comics. So it was something that always existed. This isn't the first time that they've ever had the opportunity to make this. Although some of the creators will go on and say, well, I'm so glad I'm going to be the first person to be doing this. And I'm like, no, it's been happening probably since the 50s. And, you know, they actually made a documentary about it last year. So go ahead and check out your independent documentaries, my dears. There's plenty of it out there. It's been happening forever. So there was really no reason to even wonder about it. People are talking about this, Russ, that Kurtzman Trek's making an attempt to do a crossover between Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. I'm trying to figure out how you make a crossover between an animated series and a live action series. But you know something, Strange New Worlds has been a bit different from a lot of live action series I've seen. You know, at first it started out like the Love Boat. You know, we were seeing, you know, the captain in bed, you know, with a former lover. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be this kind of series. Okay, this is going to be hot. You know, people randomly kissing each other, finding themselves in, you know, those tubes. I can't remember what the tubes are called, but they're finding themselves a little too close, a little kind of intimate touching and, you know, kind of unusual being together alone things. And it looked like it was going to be fun. And then some of the episodes were not so much. So maybe if they could find some way to meld these two together, they might have something interesting. I have no idea, Cavantino, Calvary, Che, but whatever they do, they've got to do something better. And they absolutely have to keep Anson Mount in this.
Oh, they will.
What do you think, Russ? Did you have an opinion about the Kurtzman?
I just think I think it's a little bit too soon. It strikes me as this is sort of like season 5 or 6 stunt. Like I seem to remember in Buffy and certainly in Supergirl and all these kind of things, they had like a musical episode, and this seems like, you know, like one of those weird trippy things that they do from time to time, but they normally do that much later down the road in the show. I got no strong opinions on it. I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek in any incarnation, to be honest with you. I love the old movies, but you know, I checked out with Discovery and Picard. I know Rob Burnett is extolling the virtues of Picard season 3, you know, and if he's happy, then it's probably going to be good Star Trek, because I know he's a massive fan. But as far as the animated crossover goes, I've heard about it, but I don't know how they'd execute it. But as I say, it strikes me as something that a lot of series do further down the line.
Yeah, you make a good point, and it is something to think about. You know, Robert has made a lot of comments about Picard season 3. We shall see what that season will be like next year when it comes out. And Joker Voice says, loves men. I've never seen anything that would make me believe that. Just to mention Reacher mop up on aisle 5. Thank you, Joker Voice. And that's followed up by OG Fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars, who says, and men love you. Well, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot to me. We appreciate you guys out there. I can't imagine a world without men in it. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So thank you for the kind words. What I was going to say is Mario Lopez says, the Terminal will be my next series to see after Succession, and I've heard Succession was pretty good, Russ. Have you? I haven't watched it, but have you had a chance to watch it?
No, I haven't. I've been pretty busy. I just got back last week, and yeah, apologies for not being on the show, but it was all a bit hectic in the end. So I'm trying to catch up, basically.
And Joker Voice says that the Terminalist stars Chris Pratt, and he is the woke's favorite whipping boy. I mean, they do have a lot of derogatory comments about him that he does not deserve. And, any other time in history that would be considered, slanderous and abusive. But, they're getting away with saying things that he does not deserve. So, I think that really is unfortunate. Also, a Rogue Thinker says, oh, yes, I did read this. I'm sorry. I forgot. I apologize for that there. And so you guys have saying a lot of stuff about Namor. I wish we knew more about it, Russ. I know nothing about Namor. And I apologize, guys.
I saw some comments. I think it was Rogue or it might have been Darth Plato was saying earlier on that basically Namor's origins are now he's an Aztec guy. So that's not what he was traditionally. Yeah, it might work. It might not. But no, I don't know anything more. I haven't actually seen the trailer. Is the problem? So I can't really comment on it because I know Mikey Leto would tell me off for watch it and then comment. So I don't know. But so in answer to Paulie's question, I don't necessarily think that changing his origin is a particularly woke thing to do. They certainly did it with Aquaman, but if it's just because reasons, then who knows what the film's going to be like. The proof will be in the pudding of that film. It wouldn't surprise me if Namor would be race swapped so that Namor isn't fighting people from Africa as a callback from colonialization, imperialism. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely, that could be a strong reason there. If he was a white guy, but these are concerns we shouldn't. I don't know.
Now, is this Rogue Thinker makes a good point, and I'm assuming he's talking about Namor. I liked when he first appeared in Marvel. He was a shaggy, bearded hobo. Good intro. Is that Namor? Wow. I guess he's changed in a different way. There's a lot of questions about it, and clearly, Joker Voice says that Namor's origin is Atlantean.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Originally, but I think he's a sort of Aztec Atlantean in this. For someone was saying, I don't know.
Okay, and then he was introduced in the Fantastic Four comic. So that was maybe the first time that you got to see him. Also, okay, that's not directed. I thought that was directed towards us. Now, Mikey Leto is here. Hello, Mikey Leto. He says, oh, look, Ed who finally woke up. Good morning, everybody. Well, good morning to you, Mikey Leto. I know many of you were up very late watching Robert. And Bloodsport 1. Hi, Bloodsport 1. Bloodsport 1 says, have you seen Nope? And my answer to that would be nope. I haven't seen it. But I'm wondering if you've seen it. Russ, have you seen Nope?
No, I haven't. I've got so much that I want to see at the moment. So we would be part of an ever growing list. One of the things that is on my list that I do want to see, though, the trailer dropped for it. I think it was at the Comic-Con. Was Dungeons and Dragons with Chris Fine. That film looks like it's going to be a 10 out of 10. That's how you do light fantasy, guys. And it looks, it just looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. The guy has got charisma for days. and the trailer was so good. And again, if you want to talk about diversity, you can play this off against what's been happening with the Rings of Power. Um, nobody gave Dungeons and Dragons a hard time, which kind of pops the balloon of people attacking the Rings of Power as Istifos, because no one's having a pop at this, are they? So it's clearly a straw man argument. People are attacking Rings of Power because it's not sticking true to a beloved lore. And Dungeons and Dragons, you can play fast and loose, and they are doing, and it looks like a ton of fun. And Chris Pine is sort of setting himself up as sort of a Jack Burton character. It kind of looks like to me, as like, he wants to project himself as this sort of like a really tough hero, but he isn't. he's he's a little bit inept, let's put it that way. But yeah, it could be quite. It looks like it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, I certainly do have a lot to say about Dungeons and Dragons. But before I do, Joker Boy says he's got to scoot. I've got errands to run, and it's already reached 100 degrees. Oh my goodness!
That's a lot.
Check out my new merch store, where a percent of the proceeds go to the Stuttering Foundation. Joker Voice, we certainly will check it out. Guys, check out Joker Voice and his channel on YouTube. And thank you for stopping by. And Retro Nerd Girl says Dungeons and Dragons really looks amazing. I'm in. Now, this is really funny that you should say this, Joker Voice. This is really, really funny that you should say this, because I felt the same way when I saw this Dungeons and Dragons story. Of course, Vox Machina is a Dungeons and Dragons story, but boy, this group, including Chris Pine, remind me so much of Vox Machina, which is an animated version of a Dungeons and Dragons crew. They're a group of thieves, but I would like to call them adventurers. I call them adventurers. To me, they're adventurers. You're an adventurer. There's so much to discover in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. So yes, perhaps they are thieves, but boy, they were a colorful bunch. And if this D&D story is like Vox Machina, we are going to be in for the ride of our life, guys. And of course, Chris Pine is absolutely wonderful to have in the story. I'm looking forward to seeing him in this. He's really been making so many great films, in my opinion. I'm a huge Chris Pine fan, Russ, as you already know. I'm so looking forward to seeing this D&D. So this should really be amazing.
There's an appetite for fantasy and good fantasy. I think. Well, there's an appetite for good fantasy, and this looks like it's going to be a heap of fun. I don't think it's going to be particularly dark and heavy. I just think it's going to be a light-hearted romp, a bit in the vein of Willow. That's what it reminded me of a lot. And why not? We could do with some more of that, especially given that we've got Lord of the Rings to come. We've also got the new Game of Thrones, haven't we? House of the Dragon, which will be dark. I'm quite sure. And from being initially a little bit, I don't really care. I'm now sort of coming down on the side of House of Dragons. I guess, if I'm honest with myself, as a bit of reaction to Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. I don't want to see that. It just looks so poor and badly done. I will watch it, but I'm not going to subject myself to it if it's awful. I think that's my stance on it. So I'll give it a couple of episodes, but if it is what we fear, then I'm not going to watch it. Why would I do that? I'll just get upset.
Yeah, I have no choice but to watch it, so I'm going to watch it. And I know that Culture Casino always says that he watches the first 3 episodes, and if he can't get past episode number 3, then he has to kind of push it aside and say, no more, please, no more.
Yes.
So I think that's also, a very good way to do it. If you're in the trade, sometimes they give you 3 to 4 episodes to preview a series. So there is that as well. And I can see why 3 is the magic number there. Darth Plato says, is the D&D movie based on something 20 years ago? I have no idea. I remember watching the cartoons over 20 years ago, so I'm not sure. Do you know, Russ?
No, I don't. I only know what I saw in the trailers. It was a bit of a stealth one for me. I had no idea it was coming down the pipe, and uh, yeah, especially after the because we did have one. We had something in the 2000s, didn't we? With Jeremy Irons was the baddie, and it was quite a few of these. And there was one theatrical release, I think, which totally bombed, and maybe a second one which also totally bombed. But there was a ton of direct to DVD Dungeons and Dragons movies back in the day. But obviously, if you've got Chris Pine in the film, you spent money on the film. So I'm hoping it's going to be good.
Absolutely. And Rogue Thinker says there is no story lore for D&D, only some rules which should be represented. I am looking forward to seeing it too.
Yeah, and no one's going to get bent out of shape. I think this is really to the point, and I imagine this was the same with Wheel of Time. Is that these are beloved properties in the same way that Superman and Spider-Man and all these other things are beloved properties. And I think when you're changing these properties just cause your hardcore fans are going to get bent out of shape. And I think the reaction that I've seen online to Rings of Power, and I've said this before, it's not just nerds now. It's anybody that's, if you look at a comments thread on Fandom Wire or anything like that, because all of these Screen Rant and Fandom Wire, they always put something controversial because they know it will generate comments and make them money. But what you do see is you'll get somebody going, you're just all a bunch of this and that and the other, and how dare you judge it before you've seen it, and all that sort of thing. You'll get three or four of those, but the overwhelming majority of people are entirely negative towards this production. But I tell you what,
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. If you go on Facebook, go on Fandom Wire, any one of those, Screen Rant, Movie Web, whatever you want to go on, you start reading the comics, you'll get the it does have its defenders, but they are very, very, very few and far between, and they tend to get dogpiled by the Tolkien fans going, no, this is bollocks. We don't want this. We don't want this. We want a Tolkien story, and this is not
Mhm.
that. But I tell you what is good, and that was the trailer for Shazam Fury of the Gods, which launched yesterday at San Diego. Yeah, clean up R5 because I said Chris Fine. Um, yeah, so I was a little bit meh about the first Shazam movie. It was fun, but the second one with Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as the big bads looks like it's going to be great. And I like that they're exploring Shazam's relevancy in this. So there's no spoilers. Obviously, it's only a trailer, but he's questioning who he is and his place in the DC extended universe. He says at one point, look, there's already a guy dressed in red with a lightning bolt on his chest, and then it cuts to we see a picture or a sequence of Ezra Miller's Flash, and then we see Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and then we see Ben Affleck's Batman, which has got a lot of Snyder verse people or Zachalites, as I love that, Zachalites, excited because they're now claiming Snyderverse is canon. Um, but I'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, the Fury of the Gods trailer and then the Black Adam trailer, which followed it, looked absolutely fantastic. We got a lot more out of the Black Adam trailer this time round. I think it was a little bit of a course correction on their behalf because the first Black Adam trailer really didn't get the thumbs up from many people. It looked bland and generic, and essentially The Rock wearing a tight black outfit, making jokes, cracking one-liners, and all of that. And that's not what people wanted from a Black Adam movie, I imagine, especially fans of that character. Um, and this trailer seems to be, no, this is a dark, violent movie, and here is Black Adam kicking the shit out of everybody, which is what we wanted to see as fans, right? So yeah, both of those trailers looked great. I don't know, have you seen them, Aram?
I have seen them, and I agree with you 100%. It's stuff seems to be turning around. It feels like there's a shift. It feels like there is some promise and excitement in a lot of these films that are coming up, and I think it's wonderful. I think that it's nice to be excited about something again in this way, you know. And I did want to say, I didn't say this about the D&D thing,
Oh
but
yes.
it also stars Roger Jean-Page, who, for those of you who have watched Bridgerton, which was, you know, one of Netflix's highest rated and watched dramas, um, he was the star in season 1. So not only is Chris Pine a hottie, but so is Roger. They've got 2 hotties in this D&D series. I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, this is getting smoking hot, and I think there are going to be a lot of people who find him attractive, and Chris Pine who find him attractive, who are going to be watching it just to see them, the 2 of them in this film. It is very exciting. So that surprised me equally. We're just seeing so many amazing pairings, so many amazing things this season. And it all feels like it's a bit of a surprise, I guess, maybe because we kind of, you know, maybe lowered our expectations a bit. Um, you know, these trailers and these, you know, these particular characters have certainly, you know, sparked a lot of curiosity now, and everybody is talking about it. Russ, everybody is excited with these things, and it didn't feel that way just even a few days ago, Russ.
No, it didn't. But Comic Con picked up a lot of buzz, didn't it? Um, about the rumored appearance of Henry Cavill. So somebody points out in the chat, actually, in the Shazam trailer, you don't actually see Ezra Miller's face, which could mean they're reshooting Flash, or they're editing him out of that and replacing him with somebody else. I don't know. I don't know about that. But yeah, so Deadline Hollywood came out and said that they had strong rumors that Henry was going to appear at San Diego Comic Con to talk up a new Superman project. And I think everybody was waiting for that in the hall and online, and watching streams of people, you know, refreshing their Twitter, waiting to see if Henry's going to show. Is Henry going to show? And he doesn't, which was crushing, I think, for be you a Acolyte or not. Everybody agrees Henry is Superman. So, despite the fact that we had these 2 brilliant trailers, and they were brilliant, okay, you know, let's not get away from that. I came away from it feeling like the DC bit of it was actually a bit of a damp squib, because when Deadline Hollywood reports on something, you know, you're pretty much gonna take it as read, and for it not to happen. And I know everybody said, "Oh well, it might not," but people believed that it was going to happen, and it didn't. And also, they didn't talk about the Flash movie. They didn't talk about the Batgirl movie. They didn't talk about the Blue Beetle movie. They only spoke about Shazam and Black Adam. The Rock turns up in his costume. Zachary Levi doesn't. I mean, how could you not? You know, come on, Warner Brothers. What are you doing? You could have had Shazam and Black Adam on the stage together at the same time, and you don't do that. Why would you not do that? Um, so yeah, we have a DC extended universe with no Superman at the moment, and that just seems baffling to me. Reports that I have seen, and these aren't secret reports. I don't have any insider information. I should hasten to add. A lot of people are coming out and saying it's Warner Brothers have offered Cavill this, that, and the other, but he wants more creative control and more money. And he feels that he should have more creative control and more money, because Jason Momoa got more creative control and more money for Aquaman 2. Gal Gadot certainly did for Wonder Woman, and he's fucking Superman, so he ought to have some say over what happens with the character. You know, because people are going to see him as this character. I, you know, come on, Warner Brothers, just cough up the money. You know, in relative terms, it's not gonna break your bank. You know, maybe he wants some back end deal, maybe he wants a merch deal. I don't know what he wants, but just give it to him, because he's awesome. But um, as to the Snyderverse appearing in Shazam: Fury of the Gods trailer, well, now we don't know, because on the day before there was a panel that had Jim Lee on it, and he was asked about the storyboards for Justice League 2 and 3, and what was happening with the Snyderverse. And he said that there are no plans around that at the moment, which many people took to be, will take it as read that there is no more Snyderverse. But then we get Zack Snyder, tweeting out, if I retreat, kill me, and if I do this, do that, and do the other, which is a quote. That it's one of his mottos. He had it written on the back of his T-shirt during the shooting of Batman versus Superman. So Snyder's still pushing for it, because apparently, according to Rolling Stone magazine, Zack Snyder is a conniving, megalomaniac criminal genius that has been pulling the strings all along, and none of this is genuine, and it's all Snyder been running the show behind the Restore the Snyderverse movement, and he's a terrible thief and a liar, and he's all these sorts of things. Quoth Rolling Stone. And I say quoth Rolling Stone because it was quoth Rolling Stone, because despite the fact that they have all of these allegations and things that have been said, at no point do they reveal their sources. Now, why? So essentially, um, one of the point of this article that came out from Rolling Stone is a hit piece on Zack Snyder. It labels Zack as all of those things, really much in an ad hominem way, and in some ways directly. It kicks off with labeling all of his fans as toxic, and proceeds to go on, as I say, a really huge hit piece on the man. Coincidentally, revealing secrets from 2 years ago, 2 years ago, or 18 months ago, when all this stuff was going on with the Snyder Cut, and yet they choose to sit on it until the day that the Zack Snyder Justice League gets its digital release. Hmm. Wonder why that article came out on that particular day. It's trash journalism, and I honestly don't know why Rolling Stone have done this. It would appear that sources close to the situation, which is all Rolling Stone will say that these people are, must have paid for this or sponsored this or whatever. But its timing is very, very, very suspicious, to say the least. And from every report I've ever heard on Zack Snyder, people seem to really, really like the guy. Like, there's been no people coming away from Zack Snyder's set saying, he did this and he did that, and he's a crazy megalomaniac. So the entire article, I think, is balderdash, and they have provided absolutely no evidence whatsoever. you know, they just sort of say, well, somebody said this, so therefore it must be true. But if when Snyder denied something, that was clearly a lie. So you've got the actual source saying no, this isn't true, and then you've got sources close to the situation, which is taken by Rolling Stone as read in the entire thrust of their article, and they make a huge deal about bots and the Snyder release, the Snyder Cut movement. 13% of these were bots, let us say. Whether that figure is accurate or not, we all know that bots are a thing, and they do latch on to these trending articles. And I'm sure there were some fans that exploited that. But what that does mean is 87% of the people voting for and pushing for and donating money to the suicide prevention group, 87% of those were real people that actually wanted a product, and they got it. So I'm not sure um, what the point of all of this was, and frankly, it came and went pretty quickly. I don't know what your thoughts on it were.
Yeah, it clearly was something done to hurt, verbally to hurt him and, pretty much anybody who likes the Snyderverse. But sadly, like with the Rippaverse, where Reddit kind of, prevented people from talking, even mentioning his name on
Mm.
one of the best selling comics of all time, it almost doesn't matter because no one believes anything that was said in that article for a moment. And the fact that right now, we are talking about it, but we're going to see hit pieces like this come and go. We know a lot of what they said was true from 2 years ago. There's nothing new about the articles per se. They just wanted to have their say, and they did. But it certainly doesn't do anything at all to change my love of the film or Snyder. Honestly, just to be honest about
Well,
it.
it's all lies, because if he was this terrible person, now they went to Warner Brothers Discovery, which it is now, and it wasn't back then. They asked them for a comment, and all they would turn around and say is that was under the previous regime. We've got absolutely no comment. It was before our time. But if he was this terrible person, it's not like Zaslav has come in and fired absolutely everybody that works for Warner Brothers, right? So if he had this reputation of being a megalomaniac, why have they invited him back in to direct and star in an animated show, the Teen Titans? Why would they
Yes,
do that?
it's a good question. And I did just want to say hi to Mighty Orbits. If I
Oh, hello.
haven't said hello to you, Mighty Orbits, hello. And Popsicle, I don't think I said hi to Popsicle. Hi, Popsicle.
Hello, Popsicle.
I couldn't remember if I had said that, but this is something to think about. And also, I want to say hello to Robert Wiles.
Oh,
Robert
hello, Robert.
Wiles, thank you so much for joining us. And he says, uh, you call my sister-in-law that term, she will curse. Oh, I'm not quite sure what it means. But maybe it was some other term. I don't know which term it is, Robert.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
but that's okay. Robert, we enjoy having you here. Welcome. But I'm assuming maybe it's one of the terms we used earlier. But I understand what you're saying. People do get very passionate about this. Thank you, Robert, for being here with us on a Sunday. We appreciate you being
Welcome,
here.
welcome.
I think that, and it is true that we are talking about the idea of, what's happening to journalism. And just this past week or so, a lot of these gaming journalists are complaining about how, their entire area of journalism is going away. And I think it was Culture Casino who said that every week, 2 newspapers are going out of business. And it is for reasons like this article that we saw, this hit piece, because, not only are we getting articles like that, but we're also kind of losing the variety of work that we used to get. And people used to get their news from a lot of these journalists. That's where they went to. They would read the newspaper. It was very important to go to a paper and get that news. And now we're finding that's not as important for so many people out there. Russ, you remember your parents going to get the paper to read what was going on, in addition to maybe listening to news. And all of that has changed so much now. Even the magazines that we used to read and kind of appreciate it, like recently we had a Vanity Fair spread that mainly focused on topics that had absolutely nothing to do with entertainment. Although it's an entertainment focused kind of, it was supposed to be an entertainment focused report, but the report all of a sudden shifted to another agenda. And instead of introducing a character that should have been exciting and fun, the entire magazine focused on somewhat of a dour look in our political spectrum, and absolutely nothing joyous about the IP and the story that was coming out. So we're really seeing kind of this shift in a lot of these magazines, but they're still being printed. It's still being pushed. In that regard. But I wouldn't
Well, I
be
think people
surprised.
don't trust mainstream media anymore. I mean, you've only got to look at. I've obviously, as you know, I've just come back from the United States. I spent quite a while there actually, and if you look at CNN for instance, it makes no pretense at being a news channel anymore. It just doesn't. I actually couldn't believe it, and I don't care what persuasion you are. Just to illustrate the point, that channel, even when there was a terrible incident happened on the 4th of July, and that was a mere interruption into their constant talk about your previous president. It's all they talk about, and how terrible he is and how he should be in jail. And they have all these experts coming on hour after hour after hour after hour after hour, just talking about this one guy. And I remember saying to Jean, actually, I was talking to her, I said, if they hate him that much, just stop talking about him. Why are they giving him the oxygen of publicity? But to my point, people know now that CNN used to be the trusted source of news or something like that was its it was its tagline, and it was in the 90s, during the Gulf War. They were there, they were on the
They were
scene, they
boots
were
on the ground.
They were doing some amazing stuff, and now nobody believes a word that they say because they're not reporting news. And the opposition, I guess, with Fox is the same as well. So there's a lack of trust with journalism. Even in this country, we've got the grand old dame, Auntie Beeb, the BBC. People are, how would I say it? Unsubscribing is the wrong word. We have to, in the United Kingdom, for people in the States that and around the world that don't know, we have a tax every year. I think it's about £150. It's not a lot of money in the grander scheme of things, to pay for your television license. Not to pay for your television license is a crime. You're not allowed. You have to pay for the BBC, because the BBC is a public broadcast service. It's supposed to be balanced, but it's not. It's swung so far to one side politically that it's, as if you don't share that political belief, you are kind of, why am I paying for this? This isn't what I'm paying my money for. I don't want to be told this, that, and the other in the news, and all the rest of it. So we're seeing record numbers of people now. It's been decriminalized, so you don't get made a criminal for it, but people are just refusing to pay their license fees. So on the whole, um, there's a lack of trust with politics and with mainstream media. And I remember talking to a politician about this many years ago, but 24/7 cable news was a thing, and this guy was on the opposite end of the aisle to me, if you like, but he was an incredibly interesting guy, a guy called Alistair Campbell. He used to be Tony Blair's spin doctor, and we're talking about news, and Alistair Campbell said, well, news is no longer news. With the advent of 24/7 news, all it is now is opinion, because not that much of note actually happens, right, globally all of the time. So what you've got to fill your channel with content, and that content is invariably the opinion of the people that run it.
Well, you make a lot of interesting points. And as I always say, when it comes to politics and entertainment, I think the two should never meet. And there will be creators who are very talented and will make pieces of work that are amazing to make a political message, but they're not like the garbage we've been getting recently.
No, that's right.
These
I,
are
I would
guys
I
who,
would disagree with that statement. I would say, yeah, they should absolutely be political works, but they have to be good. I think that's the point. Like you were saying earlier on, you can make a story and have as much subtext in there, as much subtext as you want. Go for it. And if it's a good story, people will watch it. But as you were saying, anyway, I cut you off. I'm sorry, but yeah,
no, it's
I
okay.
agree.
So, I think we're going to see still amazing stories that are political, and they'll be premiered at Cannes, and, they'll be nominated for different awards. But for all the rest of this stuff that we're seeing that they're trying to make a message and doesn't have a good story, no one will ever care about it. It will go along the wayside, and it'll be put in this category of, films, these B films that were made that people didn't really care for necessarily. And they're over there. And this interesting era, I had made a joke to Paul Shado about what will they call this era 20, 30 years from now. And I did say that it might be one of the greatest eras of rhetoric we've ever seen. But I don't know whether we're going to reach enlightenment from it. Unfortunately, with all the discourse and the discussions, there's something missing. So unfortunately, we're not going to get the benefits of having these discussions and trying to be philosophical, because so many of the people making the discussions are missing a lot of what they should have covered. So, and we do see that. We see the gaps. We're seeing gaps in a lot of stuff. Gary Bando Sandwich says, Zach is not my favorite. I stand with G and G.
Geeks and gamers, maybe.
Okay.
Because
And
Jeremy really hates Zack Snyder, and doesn't like. No, Jeremy says that his interpretation of Superman is wrong. I challenge that and say no, it's just Snyder's interpretation of Superman, and you don't like it. That's a fair thing to say. And I don't understand why I thought fucking Man of Steel was a brilliant movie. I think it's the best Superman movie ever. But
and,
yeah.
Yes, and Robert Ross says, yep, I stand with Geeks and Gamers. Yeah, I love the interpretation of Superman. I love Henry Cavill. So I love it all. I love Geeks and Gamers though, even though I do disagree with a good portion of what they say too. I've watched them for many years. I've watched Jeremy for many years, so I'm a fan of his. But I'm, of course, I with a lot of channels that I watch, I don't agree with everything, but
No,
that's
nor
okay. I
should
still
you. I,
watch
I
it
don't
because it's
agree with
fun.
everything that they say, and I violently disagree on this particular point. But some of the stuff they do say, I do agree with, and and I think part of their audience, don't forget, or a good part of their audience must have supported Eric July, because I know he's part of. No, I don't know. I believe he's part of that sphere. I
He's
certainly know he.
friends with
Yeah.
them, but I can't say for certain that he is part of that sphere necessarily. So I don't want to speak for Mr. July.
No, I
Um,
don't. I don't either. But I know he was on the Zack Snyder stream. I know he was on. He was on that because, of course, I watched that, and Zack came on to Geeks and Gamers.
what
Um,
what I was going to say, Russ, is that Eric July might be at the meetup in October 30th for Geeks and Gamers in Orlando. So I
oh,
don't
okay.
know for sure, but there is a meetup for Geeks and Gamers. Maybe Robert and Gary might be there. Gary Band of Sandwich Worthington might be there in
Mm,
Orlando for the Geeks and Gamers meetup. I'm going to try and make it. It's going to be a lot of fun to see everybody there. Maybe Eric July will be there. But regardless, it'd be fun to see everybody for sure. And thank you, Robert Wiles and Gary, for letting us know how you feel. This is what we love. We love to see different opinions, and for you guys to let us know that for sure. Mikey Lito says creators have to have the ability to interpret content any way they want. And our job is to judge how well they did it after we've seen it. And that's a good point, Mikey. There's a lot we haven't seen yet. So there's a lot that we are waiting to see. And it's going to be fun, Mikey Lito, as we get to see all these IPs, right? Retro Nerd Girl says, if the Snyderverse is being restored, it won't be casually revealed by Jim Lee. I agree. It will be
mm,
announced with some pomp and grandeur. And as I guess, it's not entirely, people just want an answer right now because
yes.
they're itching to find out. I don't think Snyder's story is over. That's how I feel. I think that more will happen, so to speak. Um, uh, that's just how I just feel about it. Um, and Darth Vader says it's a common problem that students have projecting their opinion the moment into the past.
Oh God, if I could have a glass of wine with you, Darth Plato, it's the one thing. As I wouldn't call myself a historian, but I've looked at ancient history a little bit, and one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts is trying to judge what happened in the past through a 21st century lens. It's entirely ridiculous. It's just so stupid. But it is a really, really common thing. And
Well,
I guess as a history teacher, he would know.
it's something that I'm witnessing, and they're trying to talk about in Outlander. Not that any of you guys here watch Outlander, but I do. So in it, this constantly there's this. I'm thinking to myself, this is 200 years ago. He's not going to like that you're doing that. Like, it's not cool. Like, there was one scene where she shows him a picture of their daughter and she's in a bikini. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to hate this. You
Mm,
can't show him that. Don't show him that. It looks like she's in her underwear. This is very uncomfortable to see. It would be like showing somebody a nude picture of their kid. Like, it's uncomfortable. He doesn't want to see that. So, but that's okay. Through a R lens, it looks acceptable, but I'm sure looking at it from 200 years ago, it was absolutely repulsive and quite shocking and quite insulting. So, but they chose to put that in there. I don't know why they had to show a bikini shot. Like, why would you do that? But that's just me. Um, Brian mentions talking about Namor, and I'm assuming that Brian knows what it says in the comics. He's a white male, white Scottish father, blue skin, Atlantean mother. All Atlanteans came from the Mediterranean in the comics, and they moved to the city in the trenches. Thank you, Brian. There's been a lot of talk about what he looked like. I somehow think that he's going to look nothing like it says in the comics, not even the variants, not even, like the best selling edition. They're going to make him look the way they want him to look. So that's what I'm guessing. Sean Holmes says, it's too bad the Snyderverse is over. I enjoyed Snyder's ideas on the Justice League. I especially liked hearing Snyder's rumors about Lois Lane carrying a child for Bruce Wayne. Yeah, it is too bad. I don't think it's over, Sean, but this is just my fantasy. I'm
But I think that
fantasizing,
that
Sean.
iteration will be over because that the beans have been spilled on all of that. And Snyder did say that if there was to be a Justice League 2 and 3, it wouldn't be those storyboards now, because obviously everybody knows what's going to happen. So
And Rogue Thinker is making some comments about a warning sign of a woke agenda. Okay, fair enough. I guess we will see when it comes about. This is very interesting. Mario Lopez says that Zach should sue Rolling Stone for slander, and I'm wondering why we aren't seeing a lot of this. And I'm guessing it's because slander cases have always been difficult, although they have made it to court. Like a lot of them have made it to court, but I think a lot of people just aren't doing them now as much, or finding it difficult to do this. It's something to think about.
I
Um,
think I don't know if he'd bother, or simply because that article was news for like a day, and it was just treated with the absolute contempt that it deserved. I don't care if whether you like Snyder, swap out Snyder, Zack Snyder for J.J. Abrams and put him in there if you prefer. The fact of the matter is, they can't. They're just making statements, and they've got no facts to back these statements up whatsoever. When they say a toxic fan base was already building around Snyder, it's like, are there some toxic acolytes? 100%. There are some real dickheads, but that's true of any fan group, or any group of people in fact. But to frame the article in such a way where it's trying to paint all of us, and I include myself in this, right? So what, am I a toxic person now because I want to see an artist complete his vision that moved and spoke to me? I've got no shame. The one scene in the Snyderverse, me and my daughter watching it, and we were both welling up with tears with the emotion, and it wasn't even anything. It was the just the two notes of the Superman theme when they reveal the ship. I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it, because it was so good. So it's affected me deeply, right? I love it, and I don't think that makes me a toxic person.
yes, and hello to Mark Mitchell, who joins us. We hope you are well, Mark Mitchell. Thank you
Hey,
so much
Mark.
for joining us today. And Popsicle says, I am from Oaxaca. I know I'm saying that wrong, so I apologize. Mexico. My friends here definitely do not like the term Latinx. And Parley from Latino San says, purist of any form, comics, books, fantasy, etc., will always be let down with movie adaptations. And there is some truth to that for sure, Paulie.
Mm.
It certainly does change so much when you go from the book to the screen. Um, Robert Robert Weil says, I need to take a new pick. I have lost weight.
So have I. Good for you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming by today and sharing your reviews with us. We do appreciate it. There is a lot of discussion about this, and I'm really glad to see a lot of discussion about this because, honestly, I've heard people say how they thought that, the franchise was not doing well. And, it kind of felt very sad. It's just nice to see everybody being very excited about something. And Lorena Creole is here with us today. Hello, Lorena. She says, morning, everyone. Dropping by to drop a like before heading to lunch with my sister. My sister sends her love to you, Positive Fandom. Well, we send our love to your sister and to you as well,
Okay,
Lorena.
yeah.
It is such a pleasure to see you this morning. I hope you enjoy lunch with your sister. And thank you so much for stopping by and showing the support. We do appreciate it. Yes, Lorena says G&G equals Geeks and Gamers. Thank you, Lorena. Because she knows that I'm always like abbreviations. I don't do completely well with that. So thank you so much for that. And yes, there is going to be, thank you so much, Lorena, for pointing that out. There is an October 30th G&G meetup in Orlando. And you can find it there. You can find out the information. I think it's on even, is it Eventbrite or something like that. And you can get tickets. Like you can order. I think they're free. You don't have to pay for them. They're free tickets to attend it if you want to. If you find yourself in the Orlando area on October 30th, so that you can not only meet the streamers from Geeks and Gamers, but also everybody else who's a fan of watching the show. So do guys definitely check it out. And Zevius is here today. Hello, Zevius. Zevius says, good morning, kids, and nice to see you all. Well, it's great to see you too, Zevius, as you all are very well
I
aware.
love your
Zevius,
avatar, man. It's really cool.
yeah, Zevius is an artist, I guess you could tell by the avatar. And we've seen a lot of his work on a lot of YouTube streams. He has contributed so much to so many. It's good to see you, Zevius. We hope you are well. And it's so wonderful to see you here this morning. Tom Jr. Jackson has given us the link to Lorena Creole's YouTube channel. Guys, do check out Lorena Creole's channel. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. She has all the information you need in regards to what's going on in entertainment in multiple genres, and she covers the parks as well. Definitely check out Lorena's channel, guys. Now, what else was I going to say? Sean says, thanks for inviting me to this show. A few years ago, hostility was building towards how Captain America views the American dream. Do you think that hostility is valid? Well, I'm not quite sure what the hostility is. I mean, I just thought that Captain America was great for having pride in America. So, and it doesn't just, he goes across the world. Like, people relate to Captain America as being someone who, I hope this is what you're asking me, Sean. I love Captain America. So, yeah, I think that, I remember there was a hit piece on Captain America a little over a year ago, and it was pulled down. And as from Heels versus Babyface did a video on it, and he talked out. The person made the hit piece on, I think it was on Memorial Day. I think it was Memorial Day, which is usually traditionally the first day of the summer and the day that you remember people who have fallen in the military. So Az was very animated about it. I was very animated about it. I thought it was terrible. The hit piece was terrible. It was pulled down. The hit piece was pulled down, but even he was disgusted by it. And, I think that Captain America is great. I think that good for him, for a boy from Brooklyn, making it and becoming, such a fantastic character, somebody that we can follow and be proud of. So that's how I view Captain America. What about you, Russ? What do you think about Sean's question here about Captain America and how he views the American dream?
I don't know which specific period that Sean here is talking about, because there was a point when he was secretly working for Hydra, and they tried to do a little bit of a character assassination on Captain America, which I thought was not cool. But I think it tends to be this sort of like middle class, sort of pseudo elitist view of looking down your nose at anything that's like vaguely patriotic as sort of dumb and jingoistic. And let's face it doesn't get more patriotic than Captain America. And I think that the people who write these kind of hit pieces and the sort of sneering intelligentsia that devour all of it kind of think that patriotism is a dirty word, and people like Captain America, if I could go so far as to say that, whilst being totally unaware that it's people with patriotism that afforded them the rights to be able to sneer down their noses and stuff like this. So I believe in the American dream. I think America is one of the greatest country in the world for all of its troubles in this day and age, and it should be protected and fought for.
Well, I couldn't have said that any better. I think you make a really good point about it, and it is something to think about. It is something to think about what we're seeing, and this is part of the vilification that I'm talking about, especially when it comes to people in the military, as well as shows that we're seeing, as I mentioned earlier. For example, The Terminalist and Reacher, where people are criticizing essentially the stance of talking about what the military experience is like, per se. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's essentially the essence of what they're referring to. And, I think that it is such an important part of keeping, pretty much everybody safe, which they have been doing. And I just want to thank all the military members out there for their service who are out there right now, and for veterans as well who have spent part of their lives protecting us and doing all this stuff. And I think that it's really important to acknowledge their sacrifice. As far as I'm concerned, I agree with you 100%, which is going to make what I'm going to talk about next, Russ, seem incredibly superficial and unimportant. Because honestly, it's not that I know that as a collector, they have different levels of collecting that you can decide to partake. And some people collect prints, they collect art prints. Some people collect Funko Pops. Some people collect, the Black Series figures. Some people collect the 3 3/4 or 2 3/4 inch figures. I collected those as a kid. My brother had them. Sometimes you can get different things, like maybe you like autographed photos, and you go have somebody autograph that. There's all sorts of things you can collect. But recently, there was this incredible story, and something that I felt should have been at the Star Wars Celebration, but it was not. Because as you know, I went to Star Wars Celebration looking for Grogu. I was seeking out Grogu. And at
Sounds like
this
a
particular,
title of a documentary. Looking
yes,
for
it is. It
Grogu.
is. Yes, searching for Grogu. It is. It's my documentary of, I guess, essentially my desire to find Grogu. And this is honestly a snippet from Echo Base Network. They had featured the story. I had seen the story before, but the clip that I have is essentially just something that they had on their channel. And I can't share the screen properly. Let me see if I can show it. But
Yeah,
this
it's
little
coming through
guy,
good.
yeah, you can see Coach, and you can see I can't
Nick.
remember the guys now.
Nick.
Thank you, Nick and Coach here. And they're talking about this Grogu, but he's not an ordinary Grogu. It turns out that he is an $85,000 animatronics Grogu that you can purchase. Let me just press play. And you can see him moving around there like
Sweet.
he's alive. Okay, and that's all I'm going to show because I don't want to get pulled down because I showed more than a certain amount. But let's just say that this incredible Grogu was featured at, San Diego Comic-Con, and you can buy him. You can commission him for starting at $85,000 there. It's EFX Collectibles booth. And I thought to myself, yes, Robert Wiles, you mentioned 100,000. Yes, 85,000 is the starting price. And thank you, Paulie from Latino saying, God bless America. Nothing wrong with loving the land and country you're from. And thank you, Paulie, for teaching us more about the American history of Latin people here that we don't learn in school, because there's a lot that you have on your channel that continues that, especially the guys who fought and made the greatest sacrifice. Paulie had a special on that about the greatest sacrifice of these guys from one block, all of them who died in World War II. Who are Latin. So I did just want to mention that that's the type of stuff that Paulie features on his channel. Happy Sanjo says, hey, everybody. Well, hello to you.
Hello, mate.
But, this Grogu, this $100,000 Grogu, it's absolutely audacious to expect someone to buy an animatronics Grogu for $100,000. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go ahead and say this is an acceptable amount of money. I think it's something that people are going to buy, Russ. There are collectors out there who want this animatronics Grogu. Well, I want it. I'm not going to lie. Of course, I want the animatronics Grogu. I want this creature. But I have a feeling that the other Grogus made by the guys who designed the Grogu one that cost like $2 or $3 million in the TV series, because that's how much that one cost. That
wow.
That one, they have 3 of them. And I saw one of them at Star Wars Celebration inside the N1. I saw one of them. He was being operated by the Imagineers at the Mandalorian experience. And I have a video on my channel about it, so you can see it if you like. But I have a feeling that people have expressed interest and have asked the Imagineers and other, I guess, engineers about how we could get this particular creature. I guarantee you, Russ, we're going to see this show up in people's collections. Now, $100,000 is the price of, I would say, like maybe even a studio apartment in some places. Maybe a very expensive car, perhaps your college education. The price tag says a lot of things, but I don't know how I feel about $100,000 Grogu. I want him, but I think even if I had the money, I don't know whether I would get him, because I think I could do a lot with that $100,000. And you're right, Tom, it is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I rather think, yeah, these will disappear, but I think that the people are going to buy it are the people that $100,000 doesn't really matter to. That would be my guess, and I'm just pulling it out of the air because I know how much of a huge Grogu fan you are, and I know that you could get a loan or whatever it would be to get your hands on this. But I just think $200 or $100,000 for a toy essentially is that's got to you've got to be super very very rich or very very well off to sort of spunk money on something like that, no matter how cool and how wonderful it is. But yeah, I'm sure there will be people that bought it, unlike people that didn't buy Reva's lightsaber. I saw somebody saying up in the chat a little bit, because that didn't make its money back, did it? But yeah, it's very cool, but very, very expensive. What's Darth Plato saying here? I remember a toy like this Grogu one. It was the Empire era Boba Fett. When you squeezed it, it spoke the lines from the special edition Empire Strikes Back. I had the Boba Fett 12-inch, and I had the little one, the ones that you'd get in the little window packet with the cardboard around it.
Yes.
My dad got me the big one for a Christmas present back in the day, 1982 it would have been. But I don't remember squeezing it and him talking. But I take your word for it, Darth Plato. You are a historian, after all.
That's good to know. And I'm gonna look out for that retro toy, Darth Plato. And I did want to mention Robert Miles. A shout out to Robert Miles and his grandfather, who fought in World War II, and his late uncle gave his life for his country in Vietnam. My dad was in the Army for 20 years, and my brother is in the Army, and my two nephews. And thank you, Robert Wiles, for mentioning that. And I want to thank all of them for their service.
Yes.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. That is important to us here on the channel. Yeah, I just had to actually. And and hello, I am Legend 000, quadruple 0000. Apparently, the real Grogu actually doesn't cost that much, $2 million. Jon Favreau just told people that because he didn't want anyone to break it.
I can believe that.
That's good to know, and that is actually quite a lot of money for any animatronics figure. He is perfect. He makes different facial expressions than this one that's offered by EFX, which I may be quoting incorrectly. But sadly, that's all we have time for today, guys. It's almost 2 hours into the program. I can't believe we are into 2 hours.
Me neither. We can touch on like a third of the things, the 2/3 of the things that we wanted to talk about today. I know, because before the show, everybody, RM sends me a list, or I send her some things that I'd like to talk about. And I was, my friend's staying with me from Canada at the moment, and I wasn't by my phone. And I looked, and I had 11 messages from RM. And I thought, oh shit, am I in trouble? And of course, no, it wasn't. It was just stuff to talk about on the show. There was William Shatner's comments about Star Trek that sprung to mind. The Grogu one was one of it. The Snyder article was another one. We had a ton of stuff, but I think we got. We love chatting with you in the chat. It's a big part. It's the best part of of this show actually, and we've got, there's two of us, so we can kind of handle it. So talking with you, or I guess kind of at you some of the time, because it's not really a two-way conversation, but we love it. We absolutely love the comments. We love the discourse in the chat, and we do try to address as much as we can, I think. So yeah, keep the comments and the questions coming in.
Yes. And Russ, where can people find you?
Well, I have a website that's about 100 years out of date. You can always email me at contact@russellwhitfield.com. I'm on Facebook, but I hardly ever do anything. I use Facebook just to keep up with the news. But more importantly, where can we find you, Aram?
Yes, guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom, my YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch and on Odysee. You can also find me on Monday nights on Toxic Femininity with Lorraine Creole and Nina Infinity. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. You can also find me streaming with Lorraine Creole on our show on her Twitch channel on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, called Toxic Male Appreciation. On Fridays at 12 p.m., you can find me streaming with Midnight's Edge at 12 p.m. Eastern with Tom and Andre. Over the weekend, sometimes you can find me streaming with Robert Meyer Burnett on our Midnight Musing show. And you can always find me here on Sundays for this Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also check out my community page on the website, where I post where I'm going to be when I'm not on my channel, Positive Fandom. Please do like and subscribe me here on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Odysee, guys. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here today. I hope you're having a great day.
One
And for
last thing,
all,
sorry, Aram.
yes,
Paulie, in answer to your question, it's much cooler here than it is in the United States. So I prefer the United States as a country and as a place to live, but definitely the weather is cooler and more fitting for my sort of insipid constitution, because it was brutally hot in Maine. It was brutal, but it's not so bad here. So there's an answer to the question. Sorry, Aram.
that's okay. Thank you for the kind words, Mario. And it is still very hot here in the US, Russ. So I think you got out pretty good, a good timing. Um, and everybody out there, wherever you're watching from, no matter what your day will bring you, um, absolutely always remember to please be kind, everybody, and take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.